Was that her 3 a.m. moment, as Senator Paul suggests? Let's bring in our panel. Joining us from the right, Sarah Isgur Flores, RNC Deputy Communications Director, and back again for more fun and excitement from the left, it's our friend Josh Orton, the Senior Advisor for Progressives United and the former leadership aide to Senator Harry Reid. Josh, to you first. I want to play something John Fund said about a possible Hillary candidacy and get your reaction to these comments. Take a listen.
The left-wing Democrats may have to take Hillary as the nominee, but they don't want her. The party has moved further left than when she was in the White House, and it's moved further left than when she was last a candidate.
So, Josh, is Hillary Clinton's foreign policy today too hawkish for the left wing of the Democratic Party?
Well, look, I think that it's important to look at the bigger picture here. I agree that there's going to be some conversations from the left about positions that Secretary Clinton will be asked to take in the 2016 race. And I think it's interesting to look at what Bernie Sanders has to say about foreign policy. People think that Bernie Sanders is some sort of Dennis Kucinich on the left, but if you look at his position on Israel, if you look at his position on fighting ISIS, this is a guy who understands the power of the United States military and what's necessary to support democracy in the Middle East. So I think the bigger important question is, are we going to make sure that Democrats aren't going to repeat the mistakes that some made in the lead up to the 2003 invasion, which was to listen to the bogus, faulty intelligence put forward by George Bush and Dick Cheney? And I think the answer is certainly we will not. Look, I think that Secretary Clinton will be an excellent candidate, and as long as, look, we see what the Republicans are doing to President Obama right now, which is that they're disagreeing with his ISIS strategy without really any other solution of their own besides reinvading Iraq. I don't think Hillary's going to go for that, and I think that she's going to say that when she runs for president.
All right, Sarah, your take on what Josh just had to say.
Democrats have a big problem in 2016. Hillary wants to be seen as the inevitable candidate, but she doesn't represent their base. And at the same time, she's going to own Obama's failed foreign policy, and you're going to keep seeing things like Benghazi come up where, if nothing else, the president's #1 priority is to keep this country safe, and she failed at that as Secretary of State.
Well, you know, earlier Josh mentioned Bernie Sanders, the self-described independent socialist from Vermont serving in the United States Senate. There was Bernie on CNN over the weekend discussing a potential presidential run and offering his worldview. Let's take a listen to Bernie Sanders.
If you run for the Democratic presidential nomination, could you beat Hillary Clinton?
Look, I don't know that I could, and I don't know that I couldn't, but this is what I do know. I know that this country faces enormous problems. I know that at a time when we have seen a huge increase in productivity, tens of millions of workers in this country are working longer hours for lower wages. We have the highest rate of childhood poverty, 95% of all new income since the Wall Street crash. You know where that's gone, Wolf? It's gone to the top 1%. That is not what America is supposed to be about. So I think we need a movement around this country so that we create a situation where government represents the middle class and working class and not just the billionaires.
So, Josh, I guess you'd like to see an independent socialist join the Democrat Party. What is that going to do for the party? Do you think he's going to end up running for president, running for the Democratic nomination?
Well, I think that Bernie Sanders is a very smart man. He's a very progressive man, and he is no Ralph Nader. Bernie Sanders has no interest in spoiling the 2016 race for Democrats. And, you know, I want to tell a story. Maybe it's an apocryphal story, but I think it's instructive. I remember reading a story once about how Bernie Sanders went up to President Clinton after President Clinton's push for health care failed in the 90s. And he said, Mr. President, I'm sorry, I failed you. I should have been there for you when we were passing health care. And President Clinton said, what are you talking about? You were with me every step of the way. And he said, I know, I should have been burning you in effigy outside the White House from the left. So I'd actually like to put forward the notion that perhaps a run from Bernie Sanders talking about economic issues, talking about income and wealth inequality is not something that Hillary Clinton would be afraid of. In fact, I actually think that it would be something healthy for the Democratic Party to have that conversation and to bring the party in a more progressive direction.
So, Sarah, are you saying, hey, just throw me in this briar patch when you have a guy like Bernie Sanders out there?
Hillary would be lucky if Bernie Sanders was the only person challenging her. Martin O'Malley now has 11 staffers in Iowa. There's plenty of other candidates who have discussed running. Elizabeth Warren, there were Ready for Warren.
All right. Well, first of all, Warren is not running for president. She's already denounced the group. They had to change her name because she wrote a letter to the FEC. And second of all, 11 Martin O'Malley staffers in Iowa, I don't think are going to dissuade Secretary Clinton too much.
I didn't say they would dissuade her from running, but there are plenty of other Democrats. Tom Steyer.
If you're going to suggest that there's going to be a serious challenge to Hillary, you're going to have to do better than that.
Tom Steyer has yet to give $1 to Ready for Hillary, and he's telling folks, newspaper reporters, etc., that Hillary has a long way to go on climate change to convince the left that her positions on fracking aren't popular, her positions on foreign policy aren't popular. I think you're going to see a heated and serious primary, even though Hillary, I think, would prefer to cakewalk into the White House.
Well, let's talk to Brother Orden about this. Your chance as a progressive, make the progressive case for Hillary in 2016.
Look, I think it's September of 2014, and I'm glad that there's people talking about how we have to move left and take serious action on climate change. I'm glad that Bernie Sanders is talking about the income inequality in the United States and how we have to expand Social Security and how there isn't a fair shake for the middle class anymore. I'm glad that Elizabeth Warren is barnstorming the country, campaigning for Senate candidates to bring a more progressive Senate to Washington. And I think that Hillary Clinton is aware of all these efforts, embraces them, and I think that she's going to run an excellent campaign if she decides to run for president in 2016. And I think that the robust conversation that we're going to have in the Democratic Party will only make her candidacy, if she chooses to run one, more powerful.
Well, you heard the progressive case. Go ahead, Sarah.
The second she tried to open up her book tour, it's been one gaffe after another. It's been Democrats not liking her. It's been her saying she's dead broke. This is a nightmare for the Democrats heading into 2016. She should just quit.
She's the book tour. She should go away. She's done.
Well, now let's understand something. She says she's not ready to run. We understand the wealth of challenges that modern campaign finance law brings for anyone who becomes a declared candidate. But the case can be made. She may turn introspective on this, Josh, and certainly to command top dollar on the lecture circuit. The whole notion of a candidacy is something that helps bring her that top dollar. But do you think, well, I'll just put the question to both of you. Do you think it's a lead pipe cinch that Hillary Clinton will in fact run for president in 2 years' time, Josh?
I think it's very likely. I think that this is one of those things where it's not official until it's official. But I think that she's done all the work politically to lead up to a campaign. I think that she has tremendous support across the country. And look, I'm not a fan of super PACs supporting federal campaigns or these 501c4s who are basically illegally conducting political activity. But on the other hand, I see the tremendous energy that's happening in Ready for Hillary, and I see the energy that's behind Bernie Sanders as he talks about wealth and income inequality. I see the energy that's behind Elizabeth Warren, who, by the way, Elizabeth Warren has vocally endorsed Hillary Clinton, says that she would support her if she ran. I think the Democratic Party is going to have a pretty coherent base in 2016, and I think the GOP is quite afraid of that because I don't really think they've got anybody who could stand toe-to-toe.
Last 30 seconds, go to Sarah Isgur Flores for the last word. Sarah?
I think Hillary has an uphill battle going into this. We've seen her on her book tour, one gaffe after another. The Republicans, on the other hand, are looking toward the future. We have a huge bench of candidates for 2016, none of which pare back to failed policies from the last administration. This isn't 2008. People aren't excited about her candidacy, and I think any number of our guys can go toe-to-toe with Hillary Clinton in 2016.
JD, I will be selling Mitt Romney 2016 buttons if you'd like to purchase one.
I don't think it's going to be Back to the Future like that, Josh. I think there is no shortage of talent and ambition on the Republican bench, but we'll see what develops. Sarah, Josh, thanks for your time. Your thoughts on 2016, tweet them to me at Newsmax TV, #AmericasForum.